Do you ever say a word so many times that it stops sounding like a word? Tamper this, tamper that, tamper Lonzo, tamper that ass. I'm Ross. This is Arturo's fan club. Yeah, I'm a little bit in my bag right now. I know that was kind of a weird intro, but roll with me because it's going to get weirder. If you're not subscribed, this is the perfect time. Great segue. Subscribe to my channel, join the fun. We've got a lot of great content coming out. We've got Summer League previews dropping pretty soon. But today, some news dropped that I couldn't just avoid. I wanted to. I actually posted a thing on my community tab on YouTube here today saying like, hey guys, I'm going to take a break today and focus on Summer League content. And then I thought about it more and I was like, you know what? Probably should just address it. Probably should just talk about it. I did a live stream earlier today for like an hour and a half and we talked about it. We went through all the different options, yada, yada, yada. But I understand most people don't have an hour and a half to devote to watching some random Jewish dude on YouTube talk about the Bulls. So here's a shorter form video for you guys who want to know what is going on with the tamper situation regarding the Chicago Bulls and Lonzo Ball, the sign and trade from the Pelicans. So, let's do a little history lesson. On Monday, last Monday, when free agency, the moratorium began, immediately the Chicago Bulls and Lonzo Ball have agreed to blah, 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 blah. You guys remember the tweet? Immediately, literally the minute that the moratorium of free agency began, it was announced that the Chicago Bulls and Lonzo Ball are agreeing to an $85 million contract over the course of 4 years via Lonzo Ball's agent, Rich Paul. So that's something we'll get into in a minute. For those of you who are not familiar, the free agency moratorium is the period between, August 2nd and August 6th, where deals can be negotiated and agreed upon. They cannot be signed. So you can talk to a free agent during this period, but you can't sign anything formally. Now, if you do something before that period starts, the NBA supposedly, as of very recently, is going to come down on you hard. That's the idea. If you do not play by their rules, if you do not negotiate within the window that they have given you, the NBA is going to punish you. This is what happened to the Bucks last season when they were negotiating a contract with Bogdan Bogdanovic. The issue there was they were negotiating too early. Now, the situation with Bogdanovic was a little bit different because the team and the player never came to an agreement, right? So the NBA ruled that there were talks occurring before the moratorium window. They assessed a penalty upon the Bucks. But despite that, the team and the player never came to a contract agreement. The player never agreed to play with them, never signed anything, and that deal fell through. There's a bit of a misconception out there that the NBA nullified or voided the contract. Not true, not true at all. The player and the team never came to an agreement, but the team still got the penalty because they were doing something the NBA saw as wrong. So, what does this mean for the Chicago Bulls? Well, the history lesson that we just had about the beginning of the moratorium window is still something that I feel like people are focusing in too hard on. Okay, we're focusing too much on this moratorium period when we need to remember the fact that the Chicago Bulls and the New Orleans Pelicans almost came to a trade agreement back during the trade deadline to send Lonzo Ball to Chicago. Okay, this was well reported. This is not something that I'm pulling out of my ass. This is well reported, highly sourced. Casey Johnson, the best Bulls beat reporter in the game, reported this back during the trade deadline in March of this year. He reported that the Chicago Bulls had worked out the framework of a trade for Lonzo Ball, but it fell through before the deadline. It involved Lauri Markkanen. They wanted to include picks. The Bulls didn't include picks. But when the deal fell through, he had a tweet literally stating a sign-in trade is still on the table. Those talks are going to be tabled for the off season was kind of the phrasing. It was the sign-in trade is still in play, I think is what he said specifically, but it would have to wait till the off season. So what this means to me is that this trade had already been worked out. Okay, months in advance. We're talking back at the trade deadline. We're talking about two teams that had already negotiated terms for this trade. Obviously, since then, other things have come into play. Other factors have affected what that trade might look like. But at the end of the day, what the three things that happened here, I'll give you the three things that happened, and you can tell me whether tampering occurred or not. Here's the first thing. The Bulls and the Pelicans negotiated a trade when it was legal at the trade deadline. They negotiated the framework of a trade. We know that. That is factual. Number two, the Chicago Bulls want Lonzo Ball. That is well established. That is well sourced. There's a lot of evidence. The Chicago Bulls wanted Lonzo Ball. That's number two. Number three, Lonzo Ball wanted to play or wants to play currently in Chicago. All three of those things are accurate. We know that the Bulls tried to trade for him. We know that the Bulls want to sign him to an extension, and we know that Lonzo Ball wants to sign in Chicago. All of these things are factually correct. You can source them. You can look them up. We have been talking about them for months. All of those things are accurate. So, the tampering. Is it true? Is it not? What is the NBA looking for, and what are they going to find potentially? So what the NBA is looking for, they're going to, I guess, subpoena. I don't know if that's even the right term because that's more of a legal term. But Adam Silver has the ability, I've looked into all this, has the ability to look into tablets, mobile phones, emails, text messages, phone calls, voicemails. He has the ability to look at everything. Adam Silver and the NBA FBI squad, the NBA SWAT team that's coming in, the NBA forensic team that's coming in, and they're going to do a sweep of all the emails, text messages, phone calls, voicemails, whatever. They're going to look at everything, and they're going to try to determine if the Bulls and the Pelicans or the Bulls and Lonzo Ball were having communication outside of that moratorium window that we talked about just a few minutes ago. What are they going to find? I'm not sure. Okay, maybe this is all just a dog and pony show. This is the NBA trying to strike down on tampering. They want to show that they're tough on tampering, and so they're going to come at the Bulls hard because the Bulls were the first team to announce their free agent signing. You guys remember the Bulls and Lonzo Ball. That was the first tweet of free agency, seconds after it started. So yeah, the NBA wants to make an example out of the team that had the very first signing of free agency. And I will mention specifically sign-in trades. Sign-in trades are the ones that the NBA is looking particularly hard at due to the fact that there are multiple circumstances that require the agreement to come into play. You know, it's not just the team and the player coming to an agreement, it's the team and the player coming to an agreement, but also the team and the other team coming to an agreement on compensation. So there's a lot of moving parts there. There are a lot of factors that the NBA wants to take a look at and make sure don't qualify as tampering. They want to make it a fair playing field for everyone, which is understandable. But the NBA doesn't police these things consistently. This is not something that like the Lakers, for example, there's a report that LeBron James and Anthony Davis went out to meet with Russell Westbrook weeks ago about joining the Lakers, which is tampering. Look into the rules. Players can be fined and suspended for tampering just the same as league and team executives. Okay? If you go out and you try to influence a player who is under contract into coming to your team, you have tampered. That is true. Now, I'm not going to sit here and do the whole like, oh, well, the LeBron gets away with it, so, you know, that means he's fine, but everyone else, I don't care what LeBron does. I really don't. I don't care what the Lakers do. What I care about right now is consistency in policing this rule. And honestly, at the end of the day, like, fucking give it up, Adam Silver. Just give it up. Teams talk, players talk. Everybody is always talking. Okay? You want to punish teams, you want to take away trades or take away draft picks or take away contracts. Because you're mad that people were talking outside of the arbitrary window that you've established? Give me a fucking break. The Pelicans and the Bulls have a relationship. They were working on this trade well before it was illegal to work on this trade. But suddenly this date hits and you can't talk about it anymore. All those things you were talking about, can't talk about them anymore. Give me a break. It's stupid. It's archaic. Every team is doing it. Either fine and punish every single team or just give it up. That's the logical conclusion. Just give it up. So I'll stop ranting for a second because I know the next question from you guys is, well, what is at stake here? What could happen? What are the potential punishments? For those of you wondering, can Lonzo Ball, the contract be voided? Will Lonzo Ball not become a Chicago Bull? Listen, the truth is, in reality, those things are possible. The NBA has the ability to make that decision. The NBA can void a contract. The NBA can void a trade. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's the NBA. We're playing by their rules. But with that said, that would be completely unprecedented. That has never happened before. There has not been a contract voided due to tampering ever before. If this was the moment that the NBA decided to make an example out of a team, I would feel very shitty, is a word for it. But it would feel hypocritical because the Bulls and Lonzo obviously have had mutual interest well before free agency. We're talking back during the last trade deadline. And if you want to talk back during the last trade deadline, what conversation has to occur in order for you to trade for a player who is on an expiring contract as a restricted free agent? You have to have the conversation of, okay, I'm not going to trade for this player unless I know they're interested in signing a new contract with my team. So it's very possible that the details of the contract were worked out in March of this year when it was legal. And once again, a date hits when the arbitrary window begins and you can't have those discussions anymore. From my perspective, those discussions already happened. Okay? The other thing, because the source, literally reported by Woj and Shams, was Rich Paul, Lonzo Ball's agent. They said that in plain terms. He was the source. To me, that says that's him having a conversation with the reporter. That's him saying, yeah, Lonzo's going to take this much money from this team. That's where he wants to go, and that's the amount of money he's willing to take. Okay? That doesn't mean that the team has already tampered with the player. That means the agent is saying, this is where my client is gonna go because he wants to go. Rich Paul is the most powerful agent in all of sports, guys. You know that, right? This is LeBron's agent. The most powerful sports agent is saying, yeah, my guy's going where he wants to go and taking the amount of money he's worth. That's a conversation that the reporter and the agent can have that has nothing to do with the team. Nothing to do with the team. The team and the other team, the Pelicans in this case, can be behind the scenes having that conversation. That does not mean that the conversation between the agent and the reporter qualifies as tampering. Two totally different scenarios. And that's all to say, I don't think tampering is what happened here. And if it is, fucking give it up. It's not that big of a deal. The Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors are going through a similar situation with Kyle Lowry. Now, I feel like that situation's a little different because the interest only recently occurred between the player and the team. The team didn't have the cap space necessarily to get the player. They made some moves to free up some cap space and negotiated that sign-in trade. Now, that's a little different because Kyle Lowry to the Heat was not a thing at the last trade deadline, as far as I remember. So, 3 days before the trade deadline, they're discussing details of the sign-in trade. That's a little bit different. And once again, Kyle Lowry is an unrestricted free agent, so he didn't have to execute a sign-in trade. Lonzo Ball, the Bulls wanted him, but they wanted to make sure if he came to Chicago that they were going to be able to lock him up for the long term. Two different situations. I don't know what's going to happen with the Heat and the Kyle Lowry situation, I feel like that's a little bit more clear and obvious, a case of a team negotiating before the moratorium window. But my point stands. It's stupid. It's stupid, right? Like, teams talk. Guys talk. They figure these things out in advance. These are their careers, right? Like, if I have a full-time job, if I started talking to another job and they wanted to give me more money and I was considering taking that offer, nobody's gonna come and fucking find me. Nobody's gonna punish me. That would be illegal. That would literally be illegal if my employer tried to punish me because I was talking to another employer about potentially looking at a new job opportunity. That would be illegal. And it's stupid that the NBA cares so much. I understand that they want it to be a fair playing field in free agency. I think it should be too. It should be a fair playing field for everyone to have the conversations that they need to have in order to make the right moves, the right trades, the right signings. Let them talk. This is so stupid. Okay, I'm not going out there and saying that the Lakers deserve to be fined because they had the Russell Westbrook meeting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's dumb that it's ruled inconsistently between different scenarios. That's what I'm saying. Legalize tampering. So, the moral of all of this, we're gonna have to wait to see what this investigation yields. And it sucks because this is gonna take at least a month. The Bucks investigation with Bogdanovich took a month. This is probably going to take the same amount of time. And it sucks because this is going to prevent us from making the other moves that we needed to make to sign other free agents. Everything else is on pause right now. The DeMar DeRozan trade is on pause right now too, because we need to figure out what the punishment or what the result is of the investigation before we can figure out what our cap situation looks like to make the next trade. So the situation sucks. It puts everything on hold. Even if they find nothing, the fact that we have to go through with it is going to slow down our offseason. And it pisses me off because we were doing so well and the NBA had to come along and rain on our parade because nothing can be sacred. Nothing can be good. I'll stop bitching, but it sucks. Punishments, like I said earlier, technically, yeah, they can void it. It would be unprecedented. I really doubt that's going to be the outcome, is them voiding the contract. More realistically, if they find some sort of wrongdoing, it will be reclamation of picks. We'll have to give up future picks. It might be money. The Bulls might owe the NBA $10 million or something. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this whole situation feels stupid. That's the word I'll use. I'll leave you with stupid. Because when a team negotiates a contract with a player as an unrestricted free agent before the tampering window or before the moratorium window, that's fine. But when it's a restricted free agent negotiating a sign and trade, we're going to step in and we're going to step on your throats, says Adam Silver. That is stupid. The whole situation is stupid. Let them talk. Let them negotiate details, trade terms, because that is what the business of the sport is all about. From the league executive perspective, from the Arturas Karnisovas perspective, your entire job all the time, 24/7, is looking for ways to improve your team. You are always networking. You are always engaging in talks about players that can help improve your team with other league executives. And they're all doing the same. All of them, all the time. They are all tampering all the time. The fact that we're going to punish teams for this, it's silly, it's hypocritical, and it's unnecessary. So obviously I'm a biased Bulls fan. I'm talking from that perspective, but I'm also defending the Heat. I'm not a Heat fan, but I'm defending you guys too. I think that's stupid too. I think this whole thing is stupid and the NBA needs to lighten up and pull the stick out of their ass. I'll leave you with that. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. I appreciate your support lately. If you want to join the Super Fan Club, gain access to exclusive content, early access to videos, polls, chats, badges, emojis, all that fun stuff, the link will be in the description. It's $4.99 a month, and it supports what I do directly. And I really, really appreciate all my Super Fan Club members out there. You guys are great, as always. And we will talk very soon.